Joining us now is Kachi Ofia. Which story is trending around the world? Hello, Kachi. Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Abati. Good morning, Tunde. Good morning, Rufai. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend.
Great,
yes,
thanks.
Thank you.
Rufai isn't here today. It's just the two of us. And now you, making three.
Oh, all right. All right. All right. Well, I hope he's good wherever he is. Let's take a look at what's trending. Good morning, viewers, today. So, the case of a 98-year-old widow who goes by the name Mrs. Veronica Nwafor, whose house was pulled down by her stepsons and accomplices in Emeoha Ororo Umonze in Orumba South, the local government area of Anambra State, has become a trending topic as it brings back some questionable customary practices and injustices. So it was gathered that the bungalow, which was being erected for the old woman, who is 98 years old, by her stepson, the son of her late husband's third wife, was demolished by her other stepsons. Now, to put this in proper perspective, her late husband had been married to three different women, three of a woman, and then just over a week ago, social media was just awash with pictures of the broken down house, which had gone as far as the roofing stage, as well as this woman just crying and wailing and people consoling her. However, weeks after the 4-room bungalow began getting, to its full fruition, these sons, which happened to be the sons of the first wife, there were about 3 of them, and other assailants pulled down this entire house on the grounds, according to Kingsmen, that the widow had no right of residence in the said vicinity because she has no son. And when I think of a situation like this, as aggravating as it is, I remember the case of Ukeje versus Ukeje, which is actually one of the most recent Supreme Court cases on the inheritance right of women. And if we decide that, okay, fine, that was a daughter to a father, let's look at another instance. This case fails the repugnancy test completely, woefully, of customary law. So it is worth noting, though, that an accomplice of this act is currently in prison, but the others are still at large.
Well, I expect that will change, Kachi, because we're no longer in the dark ages, as much as some people want to pretend that we are. What they have done to this lady is completely unconscionable. And we all have to be reminded constantly of the appalling way that widows are stigmatized and attacked. It rears its head in all kinds of ways. This is just one of myriad examples. And for me, what is just the most heartbreaking about it is that an old woman of 98 should be reduced to tears in that way. I mean, these people lack a conscience, but you don't even have to be a nice person. It's not even, nobody requires that from anybody. The fact is that the law will take its course, because this is criminal damage. They have no right to tear down her building, and I trust that they will be apprehended and they will be charged accordingly. She has the right to live wherever she wants within the borders of Nigeria. That right is constitutionally guaranteed. So definitely, I hate to say it, but some people are looking at jail time at this point, because this will not be accepted.
Okay, I think the major issue here will seem to be one, discrimination against women, and particularly widows, who are subjected to all kinds of prejudices, harmful cultural practices, they are neglected, and particularly, generally also, how women are treated in our society. Now, if you look at some cases, like the Ogunkoya case, Ogunkoya versus Ogunkoya, Nezianya versus Okabwe, Ejiamike versus Ejiamike, that's the correct reference, where it was established that the woman is like a chattel, it's like property, okay? But we've since gone beyond that. Because in Mojeku versus Mojeku, 1997 case, which is very popular, the Court of Appeal ruled that such practices against the widows are against fail the repugnancy test, which you refer to, and the rules of natural justice and good conscience. And to that extent, they are not, such behavior is not acceptable, under laws of equity and also, common sense. Now, this is a woman, 98 years, and the only excuse that is given is that, she didn't have a son for the late, owner of the space, where another stepson is erecting a building for her. So, in many customary traditions, in Igbo land, and even in some other places, inheritance is through male descent. Okay, what they call in some parts of Igbo land, usoyeku. So if you are the firstborn, there's also the rule of primogeniture in African customary law. You have absolute right over everything. But you've had cases in court, the Mojeku case, the Moloku case, women who stand up and who go to court and they challenge it. And I just hope that in this particular case, the other stepsons who are demolishing building will not be allowed to get away with it. Because under the Constitution, what has also been established by our courts is that the Nigerian Constitution, customary law, should be in line with the Nigerian Constitution. And under the Nigerian Constitution, widows, women, any citizen, any human being at all, has basic rights. So this is an act of violence. And we have a law also called the Violence Against Persons Act. We are signatory to the Convention on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. So I think that, the woman involved in this case should be supported, in fact, to push a case in the court of law. The fact that she's 98 years old notwithstanding. But generally, the lesson here is about succession. Succession Act 1964, in line with the customary laws. When people die intestate, you find this kind of crisis, whether it is in Igbo land or it is in Yoruba land. But when they die testate, they will be able to spell out, their rules. She has a daughter in this same household that is under reference. But they say because she has a daughter, her daughter is not recognized. So these are some of those customary practices, that are antediluvian and that we need to compel us to come up with stronger laws to protect widows and to protect women generally.
Quite honestly, Dr. Abbas, I agree with you. I mean, it's 2022 to think we're actually talking about this. But anyway, let's move on to another story that a lot of people would find very interesting, and it's just raising a lot of reactions. So Twitter users are reacting to a trending picture showing water being supplied in kegs. They call them miruas. They supply water in kegs, and it's like 12 different kegs of this water. Now, this mirua is supplying this water to the Bayelsa State Waterboard, and the picture just shows kegs in a wheelbarrow. So Nigerians are now comparing this situation to many ironic situations in Nigeria. For instance, the Nigerian police using a chain and padlock to safeguard its generator, the PHCN using generators to power its affairs and its district offices, so it's just a question of our system and how it just frustrates itself,
A picture says 1,000 words, doesn't it? And yes, this is a picture of the kind of incompetence, inefficiency, name the evil. This is a perfect illustration of what that is. And just across the board, like you've said, there are just too many instances. And this morning on the show, we begun the show talking about the soot problem in Port Harcourt and the fact that clean air to breathe is a human right. So is water. Equitable access to water, sustainable access to clean water is a human right. And it's a problem in this country. 1/3 of Nigerian children, according to UNICEF in 2021, just last year, do not have access to enough water for their needs. You know where we stand on the WASH indices, the sanitation and hygiene indices all over the world, extremely poor. And you now have these kegs perfectly driving the point home. It really is sad, and I do hope that those who are managing that office take this picture as a challenge to just do better. What are the issues? Because you have parts of Nigeria that will tell you, the topography makes access to water difficult. That's why residents have to go miles to fetch water. But surely that cannot apply across the board. There is corruption, there is inefficiency, there are best laid plans going to complete waste because some people are stealing, some people are not doing their jobs. And I hope that this is a challenge. It's actually disgraceful, I have to say. Like you said earlier, in 2022, good heavens.
Well, water scarcity. Yes, you have a point there. You have many families, many departments, many agencies, depending on these people, who go about with those trucks, what do they call them now? Selling water. And then you don't even know the source of the water. And that's a problem. And water scarcity, water conflict represent one of the major problems in the world today. Responsible governments make effort to ensure that there is access to water. I think it was Boutros Ghali that once said that the next global conflict in the Middle East will be as a result of water. And we have seen water playing a major role in conflicts, either in the Sudanese war or in the Rwandan genocide as part of the subtext. Egypt also is always protecting its water resources. But in any case, here we're talking about Bayelsa. Bayelsa. You see, even the water board does not have access to potable water. What is that quote again from the rhyme of the ancient mariners? Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Water, water everywhere, but not a drop fit to drink. Samuel Taylor Coleridge says. Bayelsa is right in the riverine belt of Nigeria, and yet you find that there is the problem of scarcity. And the fact that the water board cannot even provide water for itself, then how more graphic can it get? But it's not just the water board.
Exactly.
When you go to police stations, you see police stations, having a small generator that they are using, and they will chain it down. Even the police are not confident enough in Nigeria to protect their own resources. You go to PSCN, what we call NEPA offices. You see them; they provide electricity for the rest of us. You see them using generator too. So this is a kind of ironic counterpoint that you find around here in Nigeria. But it's just a reminder that a lot more needs to be done in terms of making provision for the people's basic necessities.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more there again. Let's take a look at our final story today, and we're going into Bauchi State. For that, Governor Bala Mohommed of Bauchi State saying that the northern region of the country should retain power in 2023, a comment that has gained a lot of reactions. Now, admitting that there's been agitation for power to return to the south while receiving the progress report of the Contact Committee on his presidential ambition, Bala Mohommed maintained that the Northeast should be given the presidential slot for the sake of equity and justice. His sentiments postulates the idea that from PDP, the last president was from the South and for 14 years, and Nigeria were led by people from the South. So where will justice and justification be if the North does not seize power in 2023?
I just find that whole mental gymnastics to process this convoluted argument from the perspective of the PDP, I find it quite challenging. But to the extent of the argument for the Northeast, they have also been feeling completely marginalized, same as the Southeast, for not having provided this country with a president. So that part of his argument is logical and it makes sense. However, why the clamor at the moment is focused on the Southeast is because our current president is going to complete an 8-year term, and he's from the North. After that, the South is supposed to take over for the, fairness, equity, what have you. That particular microzoning for the Southeast is because it's to address a real perception of marginalization from people of that ethnic nationality that is essential to this country. So I'm not convinced by his take. It's unfortunate or fortunate, depending on what side of the divide you stand on. We don't have rotational presidency enshrined in any law in this country. It's not enshrined in our constitution. But these are political conventions, and they are sensible political conventions because the peace and stability of this country depend on it. All of this guff about what happened in PDP is really quite irrelevant. The fact is that we've had a president from the North for 8 years, or it will be 8 years come 2023. And that's really the only point to be made here. So the PDP and the desires of the people within that small group, how many people are in PDP, considering how many people are in Nigeria, why should we all kowtow to a small group? Anyway, he's within his rights to say whatever he wants to say and put forward whatever argument he wants to put forward. It will be the Nigerian people, I hope, because it cannot be assumed that it will be the Nigerian people that choose their next president.
Well, the position that has been taken by Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohommed, will seem to be in line with the latest development in the PDP. The PDP saying that it's going to throw the field open for candidates to come from any part of the country. Earlier this morning, we had a conversation with Chief Bode George and also Emmanuel Ogidi, both leaders of the People's Democratic Party. Now, to the extent that, Bala Mohommed is talking about equity and justice. Well, at the level of principles, yes. At the level of personal ambition, yes. He can argue, to justify, his own ambition. And, you know, the argument from the North usually is that, look, the Northeast and also the North Central have not really had a good, you know, opportunity at the presidency of Nigeria. And that's why he singled out the Northeast, where he comes from. But at the end of the day, the counter-argument to that is that, you know, people from the North, they speak about the North in two different senses. When it is convenient, the North is monolithic. When it is not convenient, when it is more expedient for certain purposes, we're told that, look, the North is not monolithic. There's Northeast, there's Northwest, there's North Central, and people cannot be punished for advantages that have been enjoyed by another group. Now, but the question of perception, again, to deal with that. Yes, President Muhammad Buhari is from the APC, and he has done 8 years. But Bala Mohommed will tell you that he's speaking for the PDP. He's not speaking for the APC, since he's not a member of the APC. So whatever he's saying applies to his own party. But at the end of it all, I think the important thing is about the political parties engaging with Nigerians, and at the end of the day, the Nigerian people making their own choice. And part of that choice in a democratic dispensation includes the right to make mistakes. So I hope that going to the polls in 2023, you know, Nigerians generally will learn from whatever mistakes they may have made in the past and focus on the common good. Thank you very much, Kachiofia. So we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.